Welcome back to another episode of ROC Boys Football. And today we're taking a little look at the 2022 college football season, giving you guys my power rankings, early power rankings for the ACC. Before we get into it, just want to thank you guys for all the support on the channel. Over 900 subscribers. Again, I feel like I'm just thanking you guys. We're hitting a milestone pretty much every week at this point, and I appreciate all the support you guys have given us. So if you do like the content and you like talking college ball, go subscribe to the channel because we're getting into it a lot this summer. Let's get into the ACC. Number one team in the ACC, I get they had a down year. They have a lot of question marks on offense, but it has to be the Clemson Tigers. In terms of pure talent, especially on the defense side of the ball, it is fantastic. We took a look at their spring game. That defensive line might be in the league of what Georgia's looked like last year. I mean, Miles Murphy, Brian Brzee, Xavier Thomas, KJ Henry, Tyler Davis. It's crazy that Tyler Davis was the last guy listed. He could certainly be a top 20 pick next year. I mean, the depth at that defensive line position is absolutely insane. And I think they get better at linebacker personally. They get a lot of younger bucks who are more athletic, better in coverage, and Jeremiah Trotter, Trenton Simpson, Carter Baird, I believe his name is. He really impressed me. Wearing the 0 at linebacker is just an absolutely filthy number. I am extremely high on this Clemson team. And they're going to win the ACC if their offense just improves a little bit. I mean, I don't see how it gets worse from last year. Offensive line couldn't block. It was getting banged up. It was young. DJ was just really struggling with consistency and accuracy. And then the wide receiver position drops, poor route running. I mean, the list gets on and on, but you did see that offense begin to hit its stride a little bit towards the end of the season. And if it even just gets a little bit better, I think the Clemson Tigers will get back to their dominance in the ACC and win the division, or the conference, I should say. My second team, Wake Forest, there isn't a team that's been benefited more from the COVID extra years of eligibility than Wake Forest. They recruit in the bottom of the barrel in the ACC, almost always either in that 10 through 14 spot. But what they do, you're pretty much an automatic redshirt when you get to Wake Forest, and you just develop guys into fifth-year seniors and now sixth and seventh-year seniors with that extra year COVID eligibility. And Wake Forest is returning a lot of talent. On the offensive line, they obviously lose Zach Tom, but they're going to have, I think, 3 guys for 6-year seniors on that offensive line, a very veteran group, led by Sam Hartman, the quarterback, who's probably one of the best returning quarterbacks in the country, certainly in the ACC. And he has a lot of weapons coming back. They lose Jaquari Roberson, but they got A.T. Perry, who is one of the best wide receivers in the ACC. And then they're going to get Donovan Greenback, who is one of the highest recruits in Wake Forest program history. Coming in, he was hurt the whole year last year. This will be his third year with the team. I expect some big numbers from them. And then Taylor Morin in the slot, Christian Turner. I know a lot about Wake Forest, obviously. Friends of the show, you guys know I'm a big Wake Forest fan. Very optimistic on how this offense is going to be. Really, it's going to come down to how is that defense going to look. They're losing 6-year senior Luke Masterson. What is the rotation at the linebacker spot going to be? They have some young guys at the defensive line that are going to be good, and their secondary should just get better. They don't really lose outside of Nasir Greer, who was hurt a lot, didn't play too much. They're returning most of their guys in the back end. Really high in Wake Forest, followed by NC State, who you could make a strong argument to put NC State over Wake Forest. A little bit of a bias kicked in, but NC State also returning one of the best quarterbacks in the ACC and country in Devin Leary. They lose a little bit more production, but not on the defense side of the ball. I mean, defensively, they're 6th most returning production on that side of the ball. Probably the best linebacker group, maybe minus Clemson, the best linebacker group in the conference, and one of the best linebacking groups in college football. I like what they're bringing. They've recruited well in that 2018, 2019 year. A lot of these guys are coming into their 4th and 5th years with the team. They're a team that was my sleeper team last year. We made a lot of money off of them. Unfortunately for me, now the national media has caught on. I don't think we'll be getting the good lines that we got with this NC State program last year. But again, they're returning so much guys, including Devin Leary. I think they're going to be one of the best teams in the ACC. And then Wake Forest, I think, can certainly compete for an ACC title if Clemson can't figure it out on offense. If they do figure it out on offense, I think Clemson will run away with the conference. Miami coming in next, Tyler Van Dyke. I think it's going to come down to him. I think Mario Cristobal is going to get that offensive line up to speed. Zion Nelson, left tackle for them. Extremely excited about him for the 2023 NFL draft. Guy with all the athleticism in the world just needs to figure it out a little bit. It's going to come down to Tyler Van Dyke. They actually return a lot of guys that I was extremely high on last year. Jalen Knight, and they get Henry Parrish in the transfer portal. Big question is what wide receiver is going to step up and replace Mike Harley and Charleston Ramble's production on the offensive side of the ball. Frank Ladson coming in from Clemson, kind of a guy to watch. But again, this Miami team can be one of the best teams in the ACC if Tyler Van Dyke continues to get better. I mean, we saw he's supposed to be a top 15 pick in this year's draft. Really like the kid's play style. I like how he plays. And this Miami team is going to be as good as Tyler Van Dyke can take him. And then BC, a team that I think a lot of people forget about BC because Filyakovic got hurt. They were still a very competitive team in a really one-dimensional setting. I mean, they're losing some guys on the offensive line like Zion Johnson, Alec Lindstrom, who are some of the best offensive linemen in the ACC. But Filyakovic is going to be back. Zay Flowers, who reportedly was getting six-figure offers in NIL to transfer, he will also be back for BC. I think this is going to be one of the more scary wide receiver quarterback connections in the ACC. High on BC, I feel like this might be my sleeper team. This might be a team that the national media hasn't caught on yet. People forget how good Filyakovic is, not just as a thrower, but he's a very good athlete as well. Zay Flowers is going to start to cook again with Filyakovic, very high on this BC team. Think they're also a team to you're going to get some lopsided lines when we get into our betting stuff. I think BC is going to be very, very good value play. Florida State, this is kind of an oddball. I wanted to put Florida State over BC. And I think Florida State gets to how good is Jordan Travis going to be. He took a big step between 2020 and 2021 in terms of passing. I think 15% improve in completion percentage through three times as many touchdowns from 2022 or 2020 to 2021. This team, if Jordan Travis can get it going, they're returning a lot of production on defense, third in the country, 11 total in returning production. Florida State team that has kind of underwhelmed the last couple of years. I think this could be their year with Jared Verse, that big transfer coming in, that they can make some noise in the ACC. And then UNC, a team that's really hard to get. They were really overrated. We knew they were overrated last year. Sam Howell did not look nearly as good as he did with Daz Newsome, Diami Brown, Michael Carter, and Javonte Williams. They still do have recruited extremely well. The defense is going to be really, really good. I really like how their defense on the defensive line and secondary is looking. But what is the quarterback situation going to be? They got a pretty heated quarterback competition now. But Sam Howell, as underwhelming as he was last year, was still a very good ACC quarterback. He got it done with his legs. What's the quarterback situation going to look like? If UNC can figure that quarterback position out, get some good production from that position, I think they can be a top 6 team. But I think there are a lot of question marks at important positions. Outside of Josh Downs, who's going to step up as a pass catcher? What's the quarterback situation going to look like? With all those question marks, kind of hard to put them in that top 6. And then Louisville, another team that I like. They're returning a lot of production to the team, 15th ranked nationally. Malik Cunningham, he's a bona fide Heisman candidate. I mean, extremely athletic, can do it with his arm and legs. Just they also haven't been a team that's consistently performed. They're middle tier ACC, pretty comfortable about where we have them. Getting to Virginia, again, some of these teams I'm not going to go that far into because I think they're just an average ACC team with not that much of a ceiling. Virginia, liked what they brought last year. They just don't play defense. I don't know how this offense is going to look with Brennan Armstrong. Tony Elliott's coming in. I hated how the Clemson offense looked with Tony Elliott last year. I thought that was kind of a weird hire. Brennan Armstrong is one of the best quarterbacks in the country, put up some absolutely crazy numbers. They got Devontae Wicks, who I really like at wide receiver. I think that offense is going to be good, but that defense just stinks. It's straight up just as horrible. I don't know how they're going to compete if they can't stop a nosebleed. And if you're consistently just trying to outscore teams, it's going to be hard to consistently win games in the ACC. Do I think they can be a 6-6 bowl game team? Absolutely, I do. With a quarterback like Brennan Armstrong, I just don't know how consistently they'll win games. When we get to Pitt, a lot of question marks. This number is a little jacked with not counting Jordan Addison transferring. That's going to hurt the team. Keaton Slovis, depending on what you get out of him, I have a hard time seeing him be any better than Kenny Pickett. Now you lose Jordan Addison. A lot of question marks on that team offensively. I don't think they're going to be that good this year. I got to get more into their summer scouting to look more into that defense, but a lot of question marks with Kenny Pickett leaving, Mark Whipple, the OC, leaving, and then Jordan Addison leaving. I mean, those were the 3 most important people to that team last year, and Kenny Pickett the OC Mark Whipple and Jordan Addison, the Blintikov best wide receiver in the country last year. Now we're getting to kind of the teams that I'm just not high on, teams that have been kind of bad for a while. Virginia Tech, not much to say on them. They got a couple transfers in at quarterback. I just have a hard time seeing. I mean, I think the ACC is really good this year. I mean, you look at these top 8 teams, I'm high on a lot of them, and Virginia Tech's not one of them. That's why I got them slotted in at that 11 spot. And then Georgia Tech, Syracuse, and Duke, kind of the gutter of the ACC. Georgia Tech lost a lot of people to the transfer, seeing that number at 109. When you have a team that was as bad as Georgia Tech was last year, and now they're not returning any of their production, some serious question marks. Obviously, Jahmyr Gibbs, kind of that one of the only offensive playmakers on the offense side of the ball, heading out to Alabama. Jeff Sims, if he can take a step up, I think this Georgia Tech team can maybe be competitive in some games in the ACC. But he kind of didn't take the step from his freshman to sophomore year that I was hoping for. And for that reason, I don't have him that high on my power rankings. And then Syracuse. This is a team that I might need to be higher on. Sean Tucker, one of the best running backs in the country. I think he's a legit day 2 prospect in the 2023 NFL draft. Garrett Schrader, a guy who can run the ball extremely well. They also got Dan Villari in the portal from Michigan at quarterback. So we'll see what that offense looks like. They flashed. I mean, they were competitive with Wake. They were competitive with Clemson. But it's just a lot of question marks. I'm not a huge fan of Dino Barbers. I don't think he's done great. I mean, this guy a couple of years ago was talking about maybe getting hired at Florida State. I mean, this Syracuse team's really struggled since. They do return a lot of production. I just don't think they'll be that good. There's nothing about this team outside the running back that really excites me. They lose a lot of offensive linemen, a lot of question marks. And then Duke, they're one of the worst teams, not just in the ACC, but in the country at the Power 5 level. A team that lost to Charlotte, wasn't competitive in pretty much a single ACC game last year. They don't return any production either. So when you're that bad, not returning any production, it's hard to be optimistic. One thing you can be optimistic about Duke, I like the hire of Mike Elko. I think he'll kind of bring back that program. David Cutcliffe, I mean, he did a great job at Duke, but is his time passed? Walks out there. I think he resigns, so it's a pretty respectful way to get rid of him. But this Duke team, man, it's going to be bad. It's going to be really ugly. That's a wrap on the ACC preview. Again, we are going to get into these individual teams in our summer scouting once kind of the transfer portal settles down, summer workouts and fall camp pick up. But this is kind of my early ACC predictions. We're going to get into specific teams' record projections too, so stay tuned for that. And again, if you guys like the content, like talking college football, go subscribe to the channel, and then tell me the team I'm sleeping on. Let me know in the comments. We love talking ball with y'all. We appreciate you guys rocking with the ROC Boys as usual, and we'll be back with some more 2022 college football stuff later. Peace, y'all.